India has an exciting growing future ahead of it. Do the proposed regulations make any sense? You tell me. Let's look at them together. This is going to be very dull. We're just going to read a PDF together, so not an awful lot to see. But I'm going to comment on what I think some of the implications in the proposed Indian regulations are, and maybe you'd like to have a go at it in the comments below. And if there's anything I've missed, then please let me know. So right, here we go. Then eyes down for a full house. The first thing I noticed, that it's called Requirements for Operation of Civil Remotely Piloted Aircraft, so RPAS, and the first line is, the unmanned aircraft system consists of. So that sort of tells me this is a copy and paste of somebody else's work, really. Straight away, they're mixing their acronyms within a couple of lines, and that's a bit of a worry. But anyway, let's have a look. Drones can be used for blah blah, definitions, blah blah, that's good. C2 link, we know all about that. Let's get into the meat of it. So classifications. Nano, that's less than or equal to 250 grams. That's beginning to be a bit of a worldwide standard. Many countries have regulations that say no, you don't need to do anything for less than 250. What's happening is the world is moving towards systems that weigh less than 250. The DJI Spark is a hair's breadth away from being under 250 grams. I think if I were a betting man, I'd put money down that DJI will bring something out shortly that weighs less than 250 grams, and it'll probably be a great platform. Now the next category, micro, 250 to 2 kilos. That's quite a jump. That's quite a lot of aeroplane, but reasonable, up to 2 kgs. But the mini size, this is weird. I don't like this. 2 to 25 kilos. So at 2.1 kilos, you're not carrying or doing as much as you are at 25. I think they should have cut that down a little bit. I think 2 to 10 would have been more reasonable than 10 to 25. But I'd also like to see what the reasoning behind these definitions were. There seems to be no reasons. Large, well, small and large, we're not going to go there. We're SUS news. Now, what else does this tell you? Remotely provisions of our car. We're seeing this, blah, blah. All RPA, all civil RPA, except those indicated in para 6.6, look at 6.6 in a minute, shall require to obtain a unique identification number. So obviously there's going to be a licensing system, so you've got to be a citizen of India. Oh, and be owned, wholly owned. So you, as a tourist, you perhaps couldn't go in. Central body government or company is registered in India. So it looks like Indian operators only. This is all self-explanatory. So what are we calling UIN again? Let's go back up. Unique identification number. So registration is there. IPF flight manual, security annex. This is all blah blah and very standard. RPA in the nano category with an intent to fly up to 50 feet AGL. Oh, what's that? 6.6. So can we only go up to 50 feet in the nano category? That's not very good. Also, entries. See, we're just reading this together. Nano RPA below 50 feet in uncontrolled airspace and indoor operations. So you don't need to register that. Micro below 200 feet. Okay. That was up to 2 kilos, wasn't it? Let's go back and have a look. Micro. Yeah, so up to 2 kilos. So a DJI Phantom fits in there. They're about 1.2. Where were we? Right. Right. Permission from ATS. Insurance. So you're going to have permission from an air traffic service provider, civil or defence, so civilian or military ATC. Permission of the landowner, that's interesting, for takeoff and landing. Insurance. And a security program is approved by BCAS. Oh, I hope that's not an awful aviation one where you've got to keep them locked in secure rooms and as if somebody's going to come and do bad with it all the time. And valid for 5 years once you've got your ticket. All right, we go down through here and operator training requirements. Here we go. Oh dear. So we've got to be at least 18 years old. That's bad news for youngsters. I wonder what they're doing. I wonder what they're doing with the model aircraft community in India, because if remember, there's not a lot of difference between an RPA drone, a model aircraft, other than the intent. So I don't think I've seen anywhere where the intention is mentioned. Let's go right back up to the top. Let's go right back up to the top. Model aircraft up to 2 kilos without any payload inside educational institution premises will not require UIN or UAP. Aero modelers, recreational flyers under this category shall be fully responsible. Ah, that's interesting. So model aircraft then, it looks to me, just looking at this, if you're an aero modeler, you'll be restricted to a 2 kilo all up weight and not above 200 feet. That's going to upset any model gliding competitions and things like that. That must be a change in what happens in India. I'll have to have a look at that and see. They shall inform the local police before undertaking such activities, even for indoor operation. Good heavens above. So even indoor flying, you'll have to tell the local police. That is not tenable, is it? I've lost track of where we were. Let's go down. Let's whisper. We were in training, weren't we? Training, right, here we are. No fly zone, right, yes. Fixed wing operations, okay, yes. Right, okay. Maintenance, repair, according to manufacturers approved. Not many drone manufacturers have an approved schedule of maintenance, unlike aircraft. It's not there, it's send it back to China generally. Maintenance of the ground control station should be carrying accordions. Okay, they don't have that. Don't fly it unless you think it's going to work. That's pretty standard, isn't it? Maintain records, that's pretty standard. Right, all RPA except Nano shall be equipped with the following. Identification plate. Okay. Identification plates on aircraft, generally on manned aircraft, have to be fireproof, metal, fireproof and engraved. So you can't just draw it on in crayon. I haven't seen actually if there's going to be any sort of Indian registration other than that unique operator number, whatever it was at the beginning. So that must be on that then. So that's going to be a fireproof plate. GPS for horizontal and vertical position fixing. That's a bit loose, isn't it? Because you can get some horribly inaccurate GPS. And if that is the means of getting your vertical position fix, that could be wildly wrong. Autonomous flight termination system or return to home. Okay, well that's pretty standard in our world, isn't it? Flashing anti-collision strobe lights. And there we are. There we have it. RFID and GSM SIM card slot for app-based tracking. Now, what does that actually mean, and who's going to run it? If I was in India and commenting on this, 11.1.E, this is the one I would be having a big say about. That looks to me like a land grab to me by a data provider. In fact, now I see the 200 feet as well. That also makes me think, okay, that does sound a little bit familiar. That sounds like drone delivery people have been pushing for 200 feet rather than 400 feet. Something's telling me that's one of their little provisions. So I, with my tinfoil hat on, I'm a little bit worried that someone's got to the DGCA and is telling them what they believe best practice to be. So yeah, 11.1.E. I would definitely unpack that one if I was, or want that unpacked if I was in India. 11.2. The RPA intended to operate at or above 200 feet AGL shall carry the following. SSR transponder. Well, your 2 kilo one isn't going to carry that. If 5 kilo one might. An SSR transponder, even the really small ones, are fairly big. And I'll try and find one. They're not too big, they're about cigarette packet size. But I think the main problem with this, you can't change the squawk on them in flight. So they'd have to be given a conspicuity code of their own, and that would be that. So each one would have its own 4-digit code, mode C or S. That's interesting. I wonder what the ADSB, the coverage for SSR is in India. We'll have to look that up. We might, in fact, an ADSB out equipment. ADSB out, that's quite simple. So I'm going to find a picture of one of those SSR transponders, which you can't change its code in the air So that's going to be a problem. They haven't thought about that. ADSB out, of course, that's quite easy. That's the good folks that make the pings, UAvionics. So that's done, and that comes. You can get DJI equipment with that fitted in any Pixhawk platform from the ArduPilot project with that code on board. It's also plug and play for ADSB. Again, I wonder what the footprint. So I think I'm going to say now, I'm going to cut away now, hopefully, to a footprint of both the standard radar coverage in India and then the ADSB coverage in India. I really wonder how good that is. And if, I don't know, I'm also going to see if they're in line for space-based ADSB, because if they are, that creates problems for ADSB in our world, because A, the antenna's got to be pointed up, and B, the higher power output. Next thing, barometric. So yeah, maybe we put some graphics over this, I don't know. Barometric equipment with capability for remote subscale setting. Oh, that harks back to the SSR, really. That means they want an altimeter that you can adjust. Little rotating knob on the bottom of the altimeter, so you can set the correct pressure setting, be that QFE for your height above the ground, or QNH for your altitude above sea level within your pressure setting region, or certainly not, can't be above the transition level where you'd set 1013. Now, only very, very expensive autopilots have that capability at the moment. With things like ArduPilot, that's quite simply because the developers haven't put it in. They just assume you're always using QFE, or you're always measuring your height above the ground. So I'm going to have a word with them, say we need to get that in quick. But certainly DJI equipment doesn't have that capability. So that's going to have to be built in. If you're going to want to use DJI, that's going to have to be built in. They've got ADSB, that's sorted. And then obviously this independent RFID and GSM SIM card slot. That pointee at 11.1, that's going to have to be an independent thing. Geofencing, yeah, everyone's got that, haven't they, these days? That's not hard, and that's very largely come out of the Outback Challenge, of course, which has done some amazing work with that over the years, and it has properly made that functional. Detect and avoid capability. Again, okay, so let's assume I am commenting in India. I want to know about that SSR transponder mode and ADSB out. I want to know about the altimeter, because that's very hard. I want to know how they think that's going to happen. And I definitely want to know what they mean by detect and avoid capability. Because if you've got detect and avoid, why do you need ADSB out, SSR mode C, and a barometric altimeter? Because the thing will be clever enough to get itself out of the way anyway. And that's where it's going. At the end of the day, that's where this industry is going. The drone's going to move out of the way of... And the primary reason we're going to get really good detect and avoid isn't because we want to get out of the way of aeroplanes. It's because we don't want to hit the building that we're doing the survey of. And that'll just look a bit further, and that'll see the aeroplane coming and get out of the way. And the aeroplane need not know I'm there. And nor a controller really needs to know I'm there. And that's again what SSR and ADSB will do. It'll put you on the screen of the controller for perhaps 10 minutes, and they really won't be interested. Anyway, let's keep moving forward. Remote pilots, two-way communications to establish and maintain. Oh, continuous two-way communication with the concerned ATS unit. Well, okay, they might accept a telephone call, I guess. But if they mean by radio, then we don't have the advantage L Aeroplane has. L Aeroplane is up high when I'm sat in it and talking to them. And so the radio can be heard a lot further. We might be behind a hill with our drone, and if we are behind a hill, we won't be able to maintain continuous two-way communication other than on the telephone. Maybe that'll be acceptable. So point 11.3 as well. I think you should ask about that. 11.4, the GPS tracking system RPA should be self-powered and tamper. Oh, spoofing proof to ensure. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, nerdily interesting. So TSO GPS for ADSB is quite an old standard. Newer GPS that receive multiple constellations are kind of spoofing proof, so that's quite easy. But your GPS in your ADSB won't be. Ensure data relay even in the event of an RPA accident. Who is going to build the first crash proof, UTM capable, independent tracking system for drones. That alone is going to be worth a fortune. And just how reliable does it have to be? This is holding, if you think about it, I've forgotten the name of that airliner that disappeared over the ocean. This is holding, and in fact, yes, no, actually in lots of ways it is. This is holding the drone community, a 2.5 kilo drone, to a higher standard than an airliner or a chap in a light aircraft. So you need SSR, you need detect, sense and avoid, you need a tracking system that can survive a crash. That's a higher standard than manned aviation. That's ridiculous. So I suppose my bottom line to all of those is, yeah, great, we'll comply with that. And if you do manage to comply with that, fair play to you. But if the drone world complies to that, I hope all the manned aircraft comply to it as well. And if they don't, well, they're not welcome, are they? I do think this is one of the stumbling points of ill-conceived regulation is it can box manned aviation into a corner. Yes, manned aviation has a bit of clout, but that's falling away over time. As more drones arrive, that's beginning to fall away. Right, requirements of operational RPA. Standard operation, go. Takeoff, landing, noise abatement. Yes, yeah, local airspace. Yeah, RPA, loss of C2 links. So that's just RTL. Safe recovery of RPA through controlled airspace in case RPA system failure precludes the ability to remain outside of controlled airspace. Well, that's a bit silly, isn't it? Because that's your geofence. You would, because you're either operating in controlled airspace. I don't think we've seen where we're allowed to operate, are we? So let's assume we are allowed in. So does that mean then fly out of controlled airspace and crash? And you shouldn't be getting in there anyway. Anyway, let's move on. I'm ranting about that a bit. No, might go 15. All right, 17. Oh, you don't need to file a flight plan. Hooray! If you're small. So what was that? Above 20 odd kilos you were. Respective height. RPA mini and above category should be conducted only after filing a flight plan. Air defence clearance. Oh my word. All RPA shall concern local police. It's bad news for DJI owners, isn't it, in India? If this goes through, remember it's on a 30-day notice period. RPA, oh, here we go. Shall only be operating wind of no more than 10 knots. That's interesting. We kind of don't anyway. 10 knots is quite quick. People do say on the forums I was operating in 50 knots, but no, you weren't. Okay, 10 knots. That's a good got you for some commercial operations, I think. Remote pilots shall use call sign, RPA call sign with the word unmanned. Okay, that's fair enough. And don't cause any radio stuff. Take landing, segregated public access, fair enough. That's no person. So no swarms, no person shall act. That's 12.13. No person shall act as a remote pilot for more than one unmanned aircraft. 2 more persons remote only. Yeah, that's fair enough. That's normal aviation stuff. Always give way to manned aircraft. Good idea anyway. Oh, shall not drop or discharge substances unless cleared. Not transport hazardous materials. Fair enough. Privacy norms. Here we go. No RPA shall be flown within an area 5 kilometres from an ARP, aerodrome reference point, and above the obstacle limitations of an operational aerodrome. Okay, yeah, it's almost standard stuff if you come from flying. TRA, TSA, 50 kilometres from the international border. I don't know what the line of control is. Maybe that's between Pakistan and India or Afghanistan. So 50 kilometers, that's quite an area, isn't it? Quite a boundary, that. That'll knock out a lot of cities of sort, I'm sure, within 5 kilometres of that place in Delhi. 500 metres from strategic locations. That's interesting. Like to see those in a map. 500 metres from the military base. You can't... Does that say we can't... What did it say at the top? No, we can't. So we can't operate from a moving vehicle. There's an autonomous flight. Autonomous flight termination. Where have they got this term autonomous flight termination from, I wonder? Parks, that's fair enough. That AFT is a bit made up, isn't it? And return to home is RTH. Again, make that comment when you do that. Where else are we at here? Inside covered premises, beyond the conditions. Wow, indoors you've got to get permission from the police. So if you've got a DJI Spark and you take it to India, A, you can't fly it because you're not an Indian and you haven't registered it, and B, you can't fly indoors unless you've told the police. Legal obligations. Right, no, it's still pretty standard. Insurance. For all civil RVS shall have insurance. Fair enough, I suppose. Enforcement action. And I'm sure the Indians will be very good at enforcement action. Where are we at now? Oh, here we go. Application for security clearance. You have to do that here as well. Indian or foreign company. Okay, so you can get in there as a foreign company. Self-decorated. Yeah, okay. Application. Oh, import of a remotely piloted aircraft. Well, it's all pretty standard stuff, isn't it? Okay. Oh, well, if you're in India, you've got 30 days to comment on this. I'll obviously put a link to this document in the comments below. Please tell me what you think. Tell me if it's a good idea. And, of course, this is a starting point. At the end of the day, oh, here's a logbook idea. This is the starting point for them. And they'll hopefully improve things. I don't understand why they haven't gone with Australian regulations, the best in the world, in my humble opinion. But there we are. It's a starting point. Let's see what happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to join us at 2100 GMT every Tuesday for our chat. Like, subscribe, and do everything else you